Good afternoon. So nice to see you here. We all know that's a very busy day for news, but here we are. And without further ado, I would like to introduce again to this press briefing room His Excellency, the President of the General Assembly, Mr. Dennis Francis. We will talk to you about his official visit to COP28 in Dubai. And as a matter of fact, he's flying today. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Monica. And good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to this press conference. We are delighted that you're here with us. I'll begin by making some introductory remarks, and then, of course, we'll open the floor for your questions, comments, etc. Good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for joining today's briefing. I would like to take a few moments to reflect on the recent visit to the Pacific Island Forum Leaders meeting in the Cook Islands, as well as look ahead to my impending visit to COP28 in Dubai. Firstly, the visit to the Cook Islands was at the invitation of the Prime Minister and was intended to shore up support for small island developing states facing the existential threat of sea level rise. I say threats, plural, because it is not only about displacement or loss of land and territory, it is also about the legal and cultural aspects of such a loss. What happens to a nation's maritime boundaries as small atolls disappear? What happens to the air and maritime rights of such a country? Does this affect the sovereignty or statehood of small island developing states? Linked to these questions are deeper concerns around losing culture, identity, and heritage. Many small island developing states have millennia of history. Going back to early seafarers, their traditions, like their islands, are nearly pristine, protected and evolving in their unique ecosystem. All of that can be washed away as people are dispersed by the impacts of climate change. As President of the General Assembly, I went to reassure leaders that the UN General Assembly recognizes their concerns and is intent on taking the necessary actions to protect homes, homelands, and heritage. I am committed to support the work of the Director General of the International Organization of Migration, as well as the Director General of UNESCO, to address the issues of climate, mobility, and heritage, respectively. And I welcome the political declaration that was adopted at the conclusion of the PIF leaders' meeting on affirming that international law supports a presumption of continuity of statehood and does not contemplate its demise in the context of climate change-related sea level rise. This brings me to COP28. I will travel today and remain in Dubai until Sunday, the 3rd of December. I will participate in the World Leaders Summit and other high-level events, as well as co-host a number of high-level events and roundtables. The messages I will take with me to the COP include: 1. The need to conclude work and operationalize the funds and funding arrangements for loss and damage. Least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, and small island developing states need these resources to reconcile the impacts of climate change on their communities. 2. The need to support the COP28 presidency's bid to triple renewable energy capacity. This is the only sure way to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and keep 1.5 degrees alive. 3. The need to urgently and dramatically scale up support for adaptation, including delivering on a global goal on adaptation and exponentially driving up finances. And 4, finally, but most importantly, the need for unity and solidarity. The international community must demonstrate to the people of the world that we can deliver. We need a win, and COP28 can be that win. With that, I look forward to your questions.
And the first question goes to Valeria Robeco, President of ANCA. Valeria, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Monica, and thank you, Mr. President, on behalf of ANCA for this press briefing. My question is on the Middle East. These few days of pause and maybe like the new extension gives all sides some breathing space, but the critical question now is what happens whenever the negotiated truce expires, or since there is more pressure every day for this truce to become a permanent ceasefire, if you are hopeful that this can be a possibility. Thank you in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. I have to say that in diplomacy, all things are possible. Once the two sides sit, and the interested parties sit around the table and begin a conversation, we do not know where that will lead. But if you go back in the records, you will see that from the very inception of this crisis, on the 7th of October, I have consistently called for a ceasefire. Ceasefire. Absolute ceasefire. And the reason for this is clear. Because violence begets violence. It doesn't solve the problem. You need the political engagement to get to a solution. And because, consistent with the beliefs of the UN, the need to save lives. Once hostilities are taking place, lives are under threat, imminent threat, and we've seen the consequence of that with approximately 15,000 people making the ultimate sacrifice in 5 weeks. That clearly is unsustainable and does nothing to solve the problem. So, I welcome the pause, I welcome the extension. I would like to see the pause be converted into complete ceasefire so that other things that need to happen conversationally, a political process, can then begin.